So we've been living in our tiny home now for over 2 years, and it's by far one of the best things we've done. And since you clicked on this video, you're probably curious about it, or at the very least, you're considering it yourself. So here is a list on 6 reasons why you should buy a tiny home. Now, everyone is different, especially in the way that they live. However, I feel that tiny homes can create a very big sense of freedom in your life. It can help get rid of bills, debt, and even get you away from your 9-to-5 job. That's what happened for us here, is we were able to get away from that whole hustle and bustle of working for someone else, do what we wanted in our life. My wife and I both own our own business now. We're no longer chasing that 9-to-5 working for someone else, making them some money. We're doing what we love and chasing our dreams. And I feel that freedom is one of the most important things when it comes to tiny homes. It can really do a lot for you, but there's nothing wrong with working a 9-to-5 job. I just think that even still, no matter what you are working or doing, it can offer a lot as far as freedom goes in your life. I do understand that it could be hard to pay off bills or debt and things like that as well. It does depend on a financial income, but having a tiny home can really drastically change how much you are spending on things like a mortgage or anything. I feel like the freedom it gives you is a massive opportunity and is definitely one of the best parts of tiny homes. But let's talk about less stuff. The things in your life, the clutter, the tangible objects, the things we purchased from Amazon, use once or twice, then shove in a drawer, never to be seen again. You know, that whole junk drawer that we have in our kitchen, we all have it. I know we do. We used to. We don't anymore. But hey, because tiny home. Less stuff is amazing. We used to live in quite a big house, and downsizing into the tiny home was quite the challenge. And it really hurt us to get rid of many of the things that we do. In fact, there's some things that we still talk about to this day because it just hurt so much. I think one of the things was a Coach purse or bag that my wife had sold, that it hurt her, but she never used it. She's got other purses and other bags that she loves even more. It just hurt to sell it because that person got such a steal of a deal. But that's besides the point. Less things is amazing. It really helps you get rid of that whole consumerism mindset, which is better for you, and it's better for, the planet as well. Us personally, we don't have a whole lot of excess stuff in our life anymore. We don't even have a microwave in our tiny home. I've never lived without a microwave before. Since the day I was born to the day we moved into a tiny home, which was a total of 33 years, I've always had a microwave, but now I don't, and I don't miss it. Neither does my wife. We can't imagine needing to use a microwave at all anymore, and we used it so much. You realize some of the things that you really need in life and some of the things that you really use in life. It's kind of like a minimalist lifestyle. It doesn't have to be a minimalist per se, but it really gets rid of all that clutter and excess stuff jumbling up your house and your life. I know for us, stuff doesn't make us happy. It's more about the experiences that we do. And tiny homes really gave us that opportunity to have more of an experience-based life. Living in a tiny home is an experience itself, but it gave us the opportunity to really live via experiences rather than via stuff. And this one kind of leads us into the next one a little bit. It's more cost effective. Yeah, of course it's cost effective because you're buying less stuff to bring into your tiny home. However, it's cost effective in another way. Mortgages and house prices are just skyrocketing as inflation is seeming to go up overnight, every night, every time I look. Every time I turn my head. Most people nowadays, unfortunately, are not going to be able to have a house that's theirs in their life. Most people can't afford a mortgage or to go out and buy a $500,000 to $1 million home. It's just not plausible. As these prices keep going up, it doesn't seem like wages do. With the wage you have, you can easily purchase a tiny home and own this instead. Yeah, it's a different lifestyle. It's not the big extravagant house that might look fancy on Instagram, but trust me, tiny homes look fancy on Instagram too. We don't do it for the gram though. Don't get me wrong. It's not about the gram. It's about having a good lifestyle, and the whole cost-effective thing across the board is undeniable at best because you have such a smaller space. You have such a smaller home, smaller materials. The cost drops significantly. So you can easily afford a new home. You can easily afford a place to call your own rather than just renting an apartment or throwing every single dollar you will make for the rest of your life into a home that you might pay off by the time that you're like 70, 80, 90. Enjoying the outdoors is the next one. It's an incredible opportunity to get out, be adventurous, be more active, be more healthy. First, it starts off with getting out of the tiny home because you're just a little bit cooped up. You're feeling a little bit, I don't know, cabin fever-ish. And so you go for a walk. And the next thing you know, here, go get it. The next thing you know, you're planting a couple flowers. And then after that, you're starting a bit of a garden. And then if you're like us, good girl, ready? Ready? You're getting chickens too, because hey, why not? And I think we actually might even be getting more chickens in the summer as well. But the outdoors is something the tiny home seems to force you into, because you're getting outdoors much more to get out of this small little space that you seem to be stuck in. So yes, sometimes you're gonna be outside when it rains. Yes, you're gonna be outside sometimes when it's cold and snowy, but soon enough, and very soon enough, sooner than you think, you're gonna love it. You'll be out in the rain or the snow or the cold, and you won't mind it. You'll actually like it. Now let's talk about finances. Now we kind of talked about this when we covered freedom and less stuff kind of thing, but not really. See, being debt-free and having less stuff means you're going to have more savings. More savings mean you're going to be ready in the case of an emergency. Heaven forbid there is a medical emergency. Heaven forbid your vehicle breaks down on the side of the road. You'll be able to have that bit of a buffer because you're not spending your money frivolously on things or on an extravagant mortgage price or high rent cost. You'll be able to have that bit of a buffer zone for yourself. And of course, this goes without saying, you'll actually be able to go on vacations a little bit more. You'll have that money to go spend these things. Not to say that you have to go spend money on going to Mexico or Disneyland. You can also save it and really set yourself up good for retirement in the future. Rather than trying to pinch every penny, it just makes things so much easier and much more relaxing. But if you're like us, where you actually own your own business, trust me, finances can still be stressful. Not terrible, but just stressful. Now this last one is something that never gets talked about. And I mean ever. I've never heard anyone talk about this. Well, let me correct myself. I have, but I've only heard it been talked about in a negative, when I personally think it's a positive. See, tiny homes make fantastic Airbnbs and cabins. But why is that important? I'll explain. So a lot of people say tiny homes may not be here to stay. It's a fad, it's a trend, it's glorified on Instagram. I mean, sure, it might be a trend. It might be glorified on Instagram, but that doesn't mean that they're leaving anytime soon, if at all. I don't think they are. Put it this way, how many people spend a lot of money on a cabin at the lake? How many people spend a lot of money on an RV? How many people park their RV permanently at a lake? What is a tiny home? Tiny homes are technically classified as an RV. I mean, it is on wheels, you can move it back and forth. This could be a fantastic cabin at a lake. One that if you sell a lot, guess what? You can take your cabin with you. Not only that, but let me give you an example here. We don't plan on living in our tiny home forever. It's not a forever lifestyle, at least not for us. Eventually, we plan on purchasing a small cabin type home at a lake. That's going to be our main residence. This might be a property we have somewhere else. This might be a property we take with us to the lake and we can rent out as an Airbnb. So in the meantime, our tiny home is giving us freedom to save, financially build up to have a long-term goal. What we do with the tiny home at the end of that, we could have as a secondary income, or we could sell it to someone, because the argument is, who's going to want to buy your tiny home? Someone who wants to do an Airbnb or someone who wants to have a cabin at a lake. So because of that, the whole idea of tiny homes are not here to stay. Who's going to want to buy your tiny home if you want to sell? I say it's moot. Easy. It might be a niche market, but those people will always be there. But my point is, tiny homes have multiple purposes. Whether you live in it, whether you rent it, whether you sell it, whether you have a cabin as it, whether it's your main property or a secondary, the list goes on. And I'm happy we did. It's setting us up for a future either way. Now, with that all being said, we do not regret the purchase of our tiny home. We love it. As I mentioned at the beginning, been in it over 2.5 years. It's incredible, but doesn't mean it's not without its drawbacks. Of course, everything has positives and everything has negatives to go with it. So we also made a video for that. 6 reasons why we think you should not buy a tiny home. Because hey, we don't want to be biased here. We want to give you all the actual information. So don't forget to like, subscribe, comment down below about tiny homes and your thoughts, and go check out this video right here where you can see the 6 reasons why you should not buy a tiny home. And thanks for watching.